there is a 14th day of April 2023, and you're welcome to this is we promote community integration through our multimedia activity. Our aim is actually to showcase the new services and community. You know, we've been promoting that today is special we've been running around and preparing this whole so welcome on board wherever you are watching. I am Veronica Olabisi or Badara, but you call me VOO, and I'm so pleased when you do that. Please help us to share this thing because I have a very special guest in the house. I told you he's my guest. We've learned a lot through him when we began our broadcasting media experience back home in Nigeria. My guest is no other person, but we call him Chief Ogami. The appellation is just on and on. A lot of people call him Shessy Boy. Olusesan Ekisola. I'm sure so many people who are like maybe 40 and above will remember him very well. And of course, now in Nigeria, a lot of people will remember him as well. Is the executive producer, the Grandmaster's radio show that comes up every Saturday on the Ray Power Network. He's also the publisher and CEO, Kalahari Media Incorporation. Chief Olusesan Ekisola is right now in the studio, and I'm just going to pop and bring him on so that we can start this. I'm sorry, we are a little bit behind schedule. You know, I was having some technical challenges. Hopefully, fingers crossed, like I said, everything will go on fine. If you want to be a part of this, please remember to ask for the link. I'm going to send a link to you and you can be live in the studio with us. Otherwise, when you send your comments, I will see your comments and I will help you to read out your comments. If you have a question for my guest as well, I'll help you to read it out. Ogami, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Your volume. Your volume. You need to enable your volume.
Okay.
Okay. We can hear you now. Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
it's
thanks
so
for having me.
Oh my goodness, it's my honor, sir. Thank you for honoring my invitation. This tiny little setup of mine. Welcome on board. It's been quite some years. I know we do chats once in a while, every now and then. We do communicate, but a lot of people want to know where have you been, what have you been up to, especially since the days of OGBC, Ray Power. I know a lot of people want to know, but let's go to the very beginning as we do. Tell us about your journey into broadcasting. But before then, tell us about your background, family, growing up, childhood experiences. So maybe we should start from there.
I hope you have the time, because that would take quite a while. But basically, yes, I was born in Lagos, and I shuttled Lagos and Ijebu for my secondary education. My elementary education was in Lagos. I'm a lawyer. Then Ijebu Grammar School, back to Lagos, Federal Ministry of Transport. And then my mom came back from France. I decided to relocate to Ibadan. And started my broadcasting career. I was skillfully maneuvered into taking up an appointment with Radio Nigeria. And from there, with training and all of that, I developed a very strong liking for broadcasting. And from there, I came to Abeokuta when the state was created, and they had pioneers for the radio station, OGBC. So from 77 until 1993, when I formally retired and again returned to Lagos to now headline the first private radio station, Ray Power 100, and the planning of the television station. And from there, I had life happen and ended up in the US. And I was in the US for almost 20 years. And then I returned to Nigeria to try and see what is left for me to do that I can do. And I found a very huge opportunity in allowing private radio to kind of explode. That is, it grew so fast. They ended up with a situation where they now need training input for most of their personnel. That's a very huge area. And I believe that there's a lot of opportunity in that direction. So somehow, soon, I expect to be a participant in that direction. It would be one of the good things I would love to do as a legacy activity for me to interact with young people who are very creative, who have all the energy and are able to participate fully in broadcasting. But somehow the mentoring is missing, the training is missing, and they're not getting enough. Should I call it? It's not the opportunity. The opportunity is there. It's just that they're not getting enough guidance to help them function the way they're supposed to. So I think that is where we are now in Nigeria. So I don't know. Have I said enough, or should I continue?
You have said enough, but I actually have, some guiding question as we do, because a lot of people ask questions like, oh, how do you get into media industry and so on and so forth. But I'm glad that you really covered that. But I'm going to go back a little bit to the OGBC to FM project. And of course, I remember vividly that you were the main brain behind that project. So where did that ingenious idea come from then? Because we didn't have this sort of platform that OGBC2 came to represent then. So how did that idea come, Mogami?
The project was just one of the usually it's usually kind of it's just a project which the government has money to execute, and so it's not really anything other than to create a platform for entertainment for people, basically. The environment before GBC2 came was dominated by Radio Nigeria 2. We had a couple of stations then, Africa Number 1. You had Radio Rivers 2, which was an FM station. And then you now had, I think BCOS was FM. So basically, most broadcasting was on AM. So FM was, because of the fidelity, because of the kind of quality of sound, was dedicated to mostly music. So entertainment, basically. So when it was a kind of prestige project for the Ogun State government, they were close to Lagos. We basically play in the same airspace with Lagos. And maybe somebody thought they could make some money setting up, but I don't think it's about money because it's government. Yeah. So we were gracefully placed at the right spot when the idea came through and the government needed to execute it. So I was head of presentation. We had been doing quite a bit of disco stuff on the radio. OGBC was the only station that stayed open until 1 a.m. And one of those moments, I kept the station on all night, one night, after my late, late show at 1 a.m. I don't know what got into me on that day. I think it must have been. Went all the way into the morning. We were just blasting and just playing because there was no structured program. And we had these tons of discs with beautiful music. So we were just playing all night. I think it had to do with the season. There must have been a season, some of those seasonal celebrations. So we stayed all night. And somehow nobody took me up on it. They just left us, and we overran we overran the station. We overextended the use of equipment, but nobody said anything. So eventually, when the idea of FM station came, they now made it a baby of the presentation department because we were the people doing music mostly. So AM was dedicated to strictly talk and public enlightenment programs mostly. So this one was going to be entertainment. So I guess that's how we got given that assignment, and somehow we were able to give a good account because we became the toast of, should I say, the Southwest, basically.
Yes.
We had this stream of visiting Americans, for instance, who came in tourist buses to Abeokuta to come and see who the guys were. We had a lot of prominent artists, Victor Waifo, Kolintin Ayinla, Sikiru Ayinde Barrister, Ebenezer Obey, King Sunny Ade, Madam Comfort Omoge. She came. Yeah, in Yoda Sawaba. What we found was we got friends in the entertainment industry who wanted to identify with us, and then they now helped us to promote our brand.
New brand, yes.
And suddenly we became the toast of everyone. And
absolutely.
Yes.
And also, you are so blessed, because I don't want to say you were so blessed. You are so blessed that you also managed to recruit youngsters who are also passionate about the work, because it wasn't even about the money then. It was more, the passion was there.
Yeah. The mantra at OGBC was, you serve the station like you were serving yourself. It is, you take the project as your own, as if it were yours. And we were lucky at that time we were blessed at that time to have the types of people, Ambrose Shomide, Tongu Okewale,
Yemi Sholaru,
Sholaru now, Yemi Adenuga. Yeah, we Wanedo Sumo.
Yes.
Shai, yes. So Biola Soya, yes, that's Sabati, Dr. Shua Dada. And we had real committed programs people like what's his name again? Michel. These guys were into sports reporting. One of them,
Larry Zamoji.
Larry Zamoji, yes. Chejile. So he would come in with his materials, and they were top notch. And we recognized that and gave him that platform at that time. And that helped us to grow a lot of these goodwill. This goodwill where people trusted us because we had this very powerful platform, and people now, started to. That was what now led to people who were eyeing participation in the private broadcasting system when the government was now sending very strong signals that they wanted to allow private people to come into broadcasting. Broadcasting came into Nigeria as a purely government directed government-owned institution. The British didn't want any in their colonies to dilute their message. They needed to have their messages undiluted in their colonies. So from 1930 to like 1993, about 60 years, 60 something years, it was controlled by government until government now decided, okay, you know what, I think we can allow responsible citizens to participate. That was how this thing started. And then they now allowed people. So we were the first. And I believe this is very important, that the way we approached what we did, because nobody thought it was possible to allow private people to handle sensitive things like the news, for instance. So people were thinking perhaps we would only be allowed to play music, and as long as we behaved ourselves, we will be allowed to stay on air. But there was no restriction whatsoever. We had news, we were doing everything, we were doing commentaries, we were doing everything.
Wow.
It just meant that at least within the diameter of the freedom given to us, we were able to behave ourselves and handle the tool in a responsible way. One of the things we had to deal with was the suspicion of government that, could they, account for us, for instance, because at that time it was still fashionable for some soldiers to get together and take over government.
Yes. Yes.
So they were not sure. And the first thing they do is to go to a radio station and make that announcement.
Announcements, yes.
So they were not sure they could entrust that level of responsibility to private people. The government-owned ones were always guarded. They had these tanks sometimes at the approach or entrance of the station.
I remember we experienced that at a particular point in time when the station was taken over. It was a scary moment.
Yes. So handing that kind of freedom to a bunch of private citizens was a little bit risky, but we thank God that we were able to give a good account, and that has given birth to many more stations. Absolutely. And further liberalization, my mouth. Further liberalization of the industry, so that a lot of people, subject to perhaps background checks and all of that, are being handed that privilege to run radio stations and TV stations.
Okay. So in case you're just joining us, this is the Community Bit, and my guest is no other person than Chief himself, Olusesan Ekisola. He's the doyen of the Nigerian broadcast media industry, and of course you know him across the world. His broadcast media journey, like I said, began some years back, 1973. I was just 3 years then. When amazing that I came into the industry and
please be nice. I'm not that old.
We're still coming to that, Ogami, because I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I just want to remind everybody that he pioneered the first privately owned broadcasting station in Nigeria, talking about Ray Power 100 FM. He was of course, pioneer general manager. We're talking about Dark Communications PLC, the owners of Ray Power. I want to ask a question, Ogami, because from OGBC, I remember you went to Ray Power, just like I mentioned now. And I'm wondering, after putting in so much sweat and even blood, because you're using blood to run, putting in so much into OGBC FM. For me, it was just like you just abandoned your project, and I'm thinking this man should be getting the fruits of his labor, and then you just went off now maybe to a better one, a better platform. how did how did that happen? What prompted you to do that? Because sometimes I'm asking myself, did he make a right move? Was it, a wrong move? What was that all about? So to you, Ogami, just sum up that journey for me. How did you feel to leave OGBC and then going to start another journey all over? And how do you sum up the whole of that journey looking back now?
Yeah, like they say, hindsight is always 2020 vision. That is, you see clearer with the benefit of hindsight. Um, I cannot tell you precisely this is the reason or this is not the reason. In the first place, there is never a right or wrong move in life. Whatever move you make is part of several moves that are in your uh, destiny to make. Some moves you make, some moves you fail to make. When you fail to make certain moves, then you will not go where you're supposed to go. And all of these has nothing to do with deep thinking, ability to see into the future, and all of that. No, it just tells you that that's why people say being at the right spot at the right time. Sometimes you don't know. You end up at the right spot having gone through certain um, challenges, which when you're going through them, you don't realize that's what the ultimate end is supposed to be. You go through some challenges and then you end up at a spot.
Wow.
All you're thinking of is that, oh, thank God I survived that. But you survived it because you're supposed to survive it to get to where you are so that you can take up the next one. Life is such a complex thing. So,
Absolutely.
leaving OGBC2 at the time I did was the time already prescribed in my stars, if you like to put it that way, that I would leave. If I didn't leave at that time, I might go in a different direction. I might have gone south. I might not have achieved anything else in life. But because at that point it was time for me to move on, when it is time for you to do something, even if you have not thought about it, you will find the forces aligning to move you where you need to go. Even though you may not even understand why you're going in that direction. Sometimes you go in certain directions and you never know why you have gone that way. It's just the fact that you are destined to go there. I am not saying that there's no room for proper thinking and planning and all of that. No, I am not saying that. Why did I end up in Ibadan? I ended up in Ibadan because my mom came back from France and decided she didn't want to stay in Lagos. And I wanted to join her. I wanted to be with her, just to spend time with her and my uh, late sister then, be with them, have this uh, kind of reunion.
Wow.
So when I told my dad I was going to Ibadan, he was puzzled. Why? Why are you going to Ibadan? I said, well, I just want to, go to Ibadan. So I went to Ibadan. I got into Ibadan, while in Lagos, I was trying to get into the Polytechnic. Do you know that it was when I got into Ibadan that I was now able to go into the Polytechnic?
Wow. Wow.
And then
Predestined.
when the states were created from the Western region, a Western state, when they created Ogun, Oyo, and Ondo from Western state,
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to go into Abeokuta. Said no. I came from Lagos. Why would I go?
That village.
Yeah, why should I go into a village? Ibadan is already off the charts, but it's
Wow.
manageable. Abeokuta. And then Chief Ilegbede saw me at Dugbe while I was going back to school one day and said, they have been waiting for you. And I said, so as not to appear cocky, So I said, okay, I will come there to come and see. So I went. And I got to Abeokuta for almost 3 weeks or a month. Nobody came and told me, you're doing well. Oh, we love what you're doing. Nobody. So I wasn't sure whether I was even doing anything.
Anything at all.
Right. All I knew was there was a lot of noise about Olusesan Ekisola in Abeokuta and outside Abeokuta at the time. So I said, well, if some people are liking what I'm doing, what are my bosses doing? So I asked until I now went and met my boss, the late Okutunji Marquis.
Okay.
So I went to meet him. Late one night, I was coming back from my late show after 1 a.m. So I now said I wanted to go and see him. So my friends dropped me off there, and I went to see him. It was a watering hole at Aton. So I went to him and said, "Oga, I'm not sure anybody likes what I'm doing. Nobody's saying anything." Then he said, "No." Said, you are you are tearing up the charts. What's your problem? You know. So from then, I now became encouraged, and I now started doing more. It's important for people to know if they're doing well, you let them know.
Feedback.
If they're not doing very well, you also let them know. Feedback is very important.
Yes.
So that way, they may be able to now do more and become better.
Yes.
You know, improve on their shortcomings and improve on their good works, so that both can now begin to grow. You know, yeah.
I can recall, Ogami, in those days that we used to have like a weekly workshop, the almighty roasting workshop.
Yes. If you don't know and you make honest mistakes, you could be making the mistake forever without even knowing that you were wrong. And when you are not being corrected, what it means is people have given up on you. That is, you won't amount to anything. If nobody is telling you, no matter how old you are, if nobody is calling you to tell you, calling your attention to some of the wrongs you're doing, then you are beyond correction. What that means is you are set up to fail. There's no way you can succeed if nobody is asking you, why are you doing this, or why did you do that? You need to have somebody like that in your life whom you respect and who is able to tell you to your face some of the things that some people may be too, too careful not to upset you or make you feel bad. It's better for people to make you feel bad and you improve and become a better person than people to leave you alone and then allow you
to continue messing up.
A vehicle that is going, imagine a vehicle going on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and it has no brakes. That vehicle is going to end up in the ditch. But if you can go to where the tires are, when you're applying the brakes, I'm sure you will find that the wheels would not find it funny. You touch the wheels at that point in time, it will be very hot. Wow. That's the roasting. And that's just to make sure that the vehicle does not end up in the wrong place.
In the ditch, yes.
So it was institutionalized, it was institutionalized by the powers that be at OGBC because they found value in training people. At the Radio Nigeria, the legacy Radio Nigeria, training was the first law. You had to go through training, all kinds of courses, basic training, advanced training. It is continuous. Because learning, once you stop learning, you are dead. That's it. Once you stop learning, that's the end of it. Absolutely. There's nothing else left.
And I remember you used to tell us in those days that you are as good as yesterday, as your last performance. So a new day is a clean slate.
Because you don't know who is going to listen to you. You don't know who is going to watch your show. So if you now end up uh, produced a subpar program, and it just happened that at that time, somebody who could have been your help, somebody that could have guided you to where you needed to be.
Mm.
Maybe that would be the time that person will tune in, and then you disappoint the person and
All right.
lose a life opportunity.
It's true.
That is why
It's true.
um, it is always important before
Yeah.
you open the mic, before you get on the air, that you are fully prepared. People will get to know, the people in the streets will get to know, let's say if it's an hour program, in 20 minutes, they would know whether you're just
Laughing.
winging it. Yes. Your boss would know in like 5 minutes
5 minutes.
once you start
True.
that you are full of it.
Yeah, I mean, we dreaded that workshop, but among us, we used to say that was very helpful because I remember after the whole thing, we all learned from somebody's mistake. So we learn not to make that mistake again. We learn how to pronounce so many words. We learn how to present, and we also learn how to go in the field and look for sponsors. And we learned a lot from you. And most of us are still in media anyway, and even those who are no longer in the media industry, wherever they are, I'm very sure even the trainings then will still be helping them in wherever they are now. So we'll say thank you for that, Ogami.
Thank
And
you very much for being so kind and accepting.
I've said I will try and be kind to you because most especially, there's so many things I would love to ask, but there's one particular question that I want to ask so that you can clarify that once and for all, and then we can go on to the something, and I can release you to go. You were once accused some years ago, I think it was 1995, of attempting to cause disaffection among the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you were arrested and incarcerated for about 3 days. In fact, some international news media platform featured that story. And I know some people remember now, but what was the true story, Ogami?
Nothing much. It was just what should I call it? It was um, ignorantly, you know, uh, I got ignorantly pushed into it. I wasn't the one that actually did it. I was just head of the station,
Oh,
and yeah, we used a story um, that involved a kind of clash between two arms of the armed forces. Somebody's brother was uh, ill-treated. Basically, it's not ill treatment. The person was murdered and his resources stolen. He was coming into Nigeria from the US after a long sojourn in the US, and the driver couldn't take him to his brother's place, which was a barracks along Badagry Expressway at
okay.
about midnight. So he dropped off at a police station, which was the closest one was at Oshodi. But by the following morning, the cab driver found the dead body of his fare in the street and then went and reported to uh, the brother, who came in with a detachment of soldiers and took over the
The police
police
station.
precinct. Yes, and we didn't know. We just saw news. One of the reporters saw it in real time. Saw the station occupied by soldiers and came and decided to write his
The
report.
report.
And since he saw it, we said okay. So he used it,
Hmm.
and eventually it created ripples within the system because it got to the point where uh, soldiers and policemen were almost getting involved in a face-off,
Wow.
and it was going to be very ugly. By
Wow.
the time they got into Lagos and came for me, Lagos was awash with security personnel because it had become very dangerous. It was under General Abacha at the time. So by the time I was now taken to because we had a very good, we had a very good relationship with the police. I didn't realize anything. But I was the head of station. I was the head of the organization. My boss was not around. He was on a trip abroad. So I was invited and I went to see the CP and was subsequently charged and thrown into Fela's cell number 3 at Alagbo.
Wow. Celebrity cell.
that cell also, I think, hosted Orlando Owo and Papa Ajashi, because I saw their names written on the walls there.
Did you write your name too?
No. I was too scared. I was too scared. I saw people in leg chains, and having been debriefed, my belt was taken off so that I wouldn't kill myself. And some things that I could use to harm myself are taken away from me. And, so I was now asked to proceed into the cell, and I wanted to walk in, and the guys in the cell said, "No, you can't do that." He said, "You have to go back. You cannot walk into this place. You have to crawl on your all fours to come in." So they announced to their members, "Kickers, slappers, biters, come out."
Oh my Lord.
So I wasn't that I didn't have that much flesh on me, so I was ready. I was going to go to heaven on that day.
Oh no.
So I shut my eyes and I started to crawl into the cell, but they didn't touch me. After I crawled for a while, they asked me to stop and asked me to open my eyes and stand up. So I stood up, and they told me I had to bring state fees. State fees at that time was about 5,000 naira. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money at that time, 5,000 naira. So I now told the head of admin to please arrange for it. Otherwise, they were going to lock me up in the toilet throughout my stay in the cell, because they said everybody must pay the cell fee. They call it the state fee. Yeah, I am here today. I thank God. But it is also part of my journey. I was supposed to go through that. That showed me another aspect of life. Showed me another aspect of life, how people lived. And the people in leg chains were not the ferocious, the terrible people I was expecting them to be. They were just normal human beings who perhaps took the wrong turn and had to be restrained one form or the other because of what they did. That person might have killed somebody, I don't know. But we were in the place, there was nobody slapping me around.
So, but what happened to the reporter? Was he arrested as well?
No, 3 of us were arrested. Femi Ojudu, Kunle Ajibade, and myself. Kunle Ajibade and Femi Ojudu at that time worked with AM News. It was a kind of what do you call them now? Like they were doing like a because they were hitting and escaping because of the control by the powers that be. So to be able to carry like it was like bandits coming to strike and disappearing. So they brought out the stories and then disappeared. They would write their stories, meet at certain places, and then print, publish, and disappear into thin air. Otherwise, because of that story, we were all rounded up and placed in the only reason I got a little reprieve was because I was at the American embassy American ambassador's residence
Okay,
the
sir.
day before I was arrested for the July the 4th Independence Day celebrations. So where the story of the murdered individual was, also confirmed and all of that. So I think that was what led the government to now try to at least rescue the situation before it became
Right.
terrible. Yeah.
What an experience.
Yes, it's a nice experience for me. And, when I got back, my chairman and the rest roasted me for a while. Yeah. But those are things that help you to be who you're supposed to be, who you become in life is framed by a, a series of experiences which you basically go through, and they now form a part of your personality. They help you to be who you become. Yeah.
Adewale Dosumo is asking a question, which I'm going to leave a bit now. I will come back to that question. Thank you so much, Wale.
Well, XD, the pastor is now a pastor.
Yes, Wale is a pastor. When he came to UK the other time, we met up. And
Okay.
it was really a good reunion. I'm going to ask this question quickly, 1, 2, and then I come to Wale's question. What can you say about the current standard of the broadcast media industry in Nigeria, Gami, compared to the 70s, 80s, and maybe the 90s?
The current system.
Broadcast standard.
Yeah, well, it's obvious to everybody. There's a big problem, and the only way that can be addressed is for everybody to go back to the drawing board, training, guidance, mentoring, and those to be mentored should be humble enough to accept to be mentored. Otherwise, they'll keep going in the wrong direction. And it's very easy now to have likes and retweets. But what is the substance of what you're putting out? What will people learn from what you're doing? It's very easy to do slapstick.
Yes.
Some of the things. There are contents, yes. Some people thrive on stuff like that. But how long? Ebenezer Obey's records, King Sunny Ade's records, some of the oldies we enjoy today were recorded so many decades ago. But they're still very nice and enjoyable now.
It's still relevant and
yes, most of what is being produced now, how many of those will see the light of day after 6 months, after a year? So don't even go to 10 years or 20 years. No, some of the songs, the drum can sound. You don't need to use your mouth to porokoto.
Okay. And then we're looking also into private radio stations and television stations springing up here and there. As we know, even people who are not practitioners in the industry are able to get licensed, whereas people who are professionals who have experience and labored and paid their dues, like yourself, Ogami, I keep wondering, when will Nigeria get to that point where we have somebody like you as the Minister of Information, special advisor to the President of Media and Communications, as a CEO of established media houses? When will Nigeria ever get there? That's actually the question. Will Nigeria ever get to this point?
In reality, I think we may have arrived at that point. where um, the professionals are beginning to, have an impact on the Nigerian society. If you look at it, all of the sweat of people like Ebenezer Obey, Orlando Owo, Sonny Ade, and a lot of others that most of the people in this generation may not even know. Suberu Oni, um, Ojoge Daniel, there was Dan Mariah Joss.
Yes.
Quite a few of these people just they did it on a song and a prayer. They didn't make any money. They didn't make as much money. Some of those who had money out of the musicians, Ebenezer Obey, Sonny Ade, were making money through their investments. It's not from the music per se. But look at the current day musicians.
True.
Zazuze and stuff like that. All that one takes to make some money now is just to have their materials on social media platforms, people liking, bringing in some returns in terms of clicks, in terms of advertising platforms and all of that. And they're making millions.
Yeah.
Whereas the likes of Ebenezer Obey, Dele Abiodun, Sonny Ade were traveling all over the country to go and play. And yet they were not making bundles of money. But the dedication to the craft has helped them to stay relevant as at now, such that now the kids, it's not only in Nigeria. If you look at the US as well, there was a stage, I don't know whether they have even passed it yet, where people were not creating new material. They were just sampling.
Sampling, yes.
From what other people did.
Yes.
And then they just use their own bird. Maybe the bird is a repetitive beat that is attractive, and then they now put Alo Majaye, just one
to spice it
phrase.
up.
Yes, one phrase. And then they now go to the nattering, which by the time you listen to it means nothing. The message is Alo Majaye, which was something composed by somebody so many years ago, and they did not make that much money from it. They were busy. You listen to it in songs. Sonny Ade, Ebenezer Obey, Dele Abe. Some got into accidents. Kyle De Fashola, and Prince Adekunle.
Yes. General Prince Adekunle. Yes.
General Prince Adekunle. Idowu Animashaun. You had so many. So many. Ojoge Daniel, I don't know whether anybody will even remember. Ojere, my dear. Amoda Ojere. So many. They were very creative. Who taught Orlando Owo music? Which school did he attend? Fela Anikulapo Kuti, when he was belting those songs, and not be gentleman like that, you go so far, some they follow, then lose them sense, Those songs came from somewhere. I remember when Fela's mom was being immortalized by a song, Coffin for Head of State. And then kill my mama. I was drunk on that day. I was young, drunk. I was on the dancing floor and I was crying because the message was very powerful. It was, and you felt it from the lyricing, from the arrangement, But now, what do you have? You have people who have now been so I don't know whether to say they are compromised, but they have become so lazy that creativity has now been thrown out of the window. So it doesn't matter. Yes.
It cuts across every sector, actually. It's not even
Yes,
just the entertainment industry. People
that's
want
right.
quick fix, the instant megabucks, and they will do anything to get that.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Ogami. Thank you so much. We've gone really, really, really beyond the time that we agreed, but please pardon me and bear with me. Wale Sumo, our dear brother, he's just asking a light question. How did he come about the breaking of plates concept to have his identity? A lot of people are asking that question. That man that used to break plates, how many plates did he break? Tell us about that signature tune.
We we
When
we
you
had
break the
we
plate.
had we had this we were left, I don't think we were controlled too much. I remember Chief Ishola Folorunsho, on Radio Nigeria. It was almost 90% local to 10% foreign in terms of content. But we were young and rebellious. We would play our bam bam music. So we called it, but Chief Follow Show would come in the morning and just peer through the door and say, enough of this ya music. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then he would go to his office. You see, we were left to roam creatively. You know, Yonju and I were like uh, siblings, like Siamese twins. We would run around Ibadan. So he was a music merchant.
Merchant,
By
yes.
the time I got into Abeokuta, late Mrs. Omotosho, Moji Omotosho, was the one that voiced my radio jingle,
Oh,
Olusesan
yes.
Ekisola. She just said it. I mean, it was, just like a spur of the moment thing.
Hmm.
She said, Olusesan Ekisola. And I said, can you help me? She said, yes, she's going to go and record it in the studio. She was
Ah,
head of commercials at the
wow.
time. So she recorded it. Now you're looking for some effects that will draw attention. And what can draw attention more than breaking glasses?
What I mean, we didn't have digital effects in some years back, but
Oh,
were
oh
you
yeah.
actually, it was an effect, or
Yes.
were you just breaking the plates?
No, no, it was an effect.
Oh, wow.
Back then, there was this, you had a whole disc of effects. It was recorded specifically. It was basically for drama. The effects were meant for
Right,
drama.
right.
So, people like a Candid Theatre, for instance, on Radio Nigeria. I know we had a theatre program also on Ogun Radio, but on Radio Nigeria Ibadan, we had Candid Theatre, the Candid Theatre produced by Leko Ladele at that time.
Hmm.
So you had this huge disc that has all kinds of. So if you were looking for any kinds of effects, so it was just fanciful while listening to it, and it felt, oh, that sounds attractive, and I decided, I'm going to use it.
That one.
That was how. So, and it had the effect, just like the Gaulish laughter from Michael Jackson's what's it called now? What's that song?
I
Uh,
don't know that one.
you remember the song?
No, no, Gabby, I can't remember.
Okay, it was the song. Da-da-da-da. No, I'm not sure. I have enough, but why?
Oh,
It's not you're gonna be starting something. That wasn't the one. The one where that lady and he were walking alone in the street late at night, and they were confronted by ghosts.
yes, 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 yes.
That
Uh,
was the song.
I can't remember
So
the title now. Yes.
at the end of that song was that Gaulish laughter, and yeah,
I
it
see.
also sounded
Okay.
nice, and I thought I could incorporate it, so I did.
And when you finished your program, there's this sign off that you used to do that was also different. I want to thank you. I think I want you to do that for us, Agami, if you can remember.
And with the feeling of a new beginning, I want to thank you for letting me be myself. Thank you for letting me feel so cool. Thank you for letting me feel so. That was the. Uh, that was the well, the
Amazing.
payoff. But the idea came from one of my bosses, my mentor. We never met. I just loved listening to him on the radio. He was the one that also now made me love music presentation. I've been listening to the radio for a long time, from the days of the Radio Fusion. But
Right.
he had the big beat. Pa Benson Idonije, Benje,
Oh,
DJ
yes, the
Benje.
doyen.
He
Yeah.
was one of the people that made me love listening to the radio. His show was a must listen every Saturday afternoon at 12. He had 1 hour, so it was the big beat. So he was the one that will say the big beat from Radio Nigeria's
Yes.
commercial service or something like that. So, and I loved the way it sounded sexy. So I now, just like I would also pick up the newspapers when I was in the elementary school and start to read the news, like the legends, Nelson Ikpaye, much later, Julikoka, Mike Enahu. Is it Mike? Yeah, Mike Enahu. And yeah, a few others. So
Wow.
you pick up the newspaper and say, here is the news. Nelson Ikpaye, here is the news, read by Olusesan, Ekisola. And I was doing that in elementary school.
Wow.
So by the time I now left secondary school, I was working at the Federal Ministry of Transport and Aviation. At midday on Saturday, that's when we close shop. You have full days, Monday to Friday, and then you have half a day on Saturdays. So at 12, about the time we'll be closing, that's when the big beat would start. So we would sit down in the office and listen with some of my friends. We loved music. You know,
Hmm.
that was it. And I now decided, yeah, presenting like him sounded fantastic. So you copy somebody until you can now find your own feet.
Identity, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Agami. I remember when I joined the OGBC, because I had a teacher who was a Canadian, and she affected us a bit with rolling the R and things like that. I remember when I came to OGBC in those days, I used to roll my R. And you want but yes, well,
we had this I don't know whether it's a fetish of being able to speak the Queen's English only as the only way uh, of communicating. It gave us, yes, a very good platform to pronounce our words correctly. We had the Daniel Jones, which was
Daniel
the
Jones.
announcer's Bible,
Bible, yeah.
which teaches us how to say things. But when I got into the United States and I was doing my spray, they will allow me to finish my spray, and then they will say what? So I now learned that
Wow.
there is much more to speaking than speaking in a particular way.
Particular
You had
accent.
to, the entire purpose of your opening your mouth to say anything is such that you can pass a message to somebody correctly so that the person you're telling understands exactly. When you tell somebody, give me salt, and that person gives you a sugar bowl, then something is wrong. It means you have not communicated. The main purpose of speaking is to be able to communicate. All the spray that we are used to is only indulged by a very tiny, a minute percentage of the British population. These are the highly educated people who went to either Oxford or Cambridge.
Harvard, yes,
And
okay.
just a tiny proportion of those speak like that.
Wow.
So when you do that, what you're likely to do is to alienate people. You make people, you create a wall between you. So people are not hearing what you're saying. What they are hearing is the way you're saying it. So that's a distraction. It's called noise. So you say what you want to say. When they say what? I knew the person I was talking to is not as sophisticated or educated as I am. He has a white skin or a black skin like mine. He's an American. He understands when I speak English. He just wanted to mess with me.
The accent.
Yes. So he says you have an accent. So did you learn to speak English in America? And I said, I'm not sure.
Wow.
It's okay. So basically, the purpose of opening your mouth to say anything is to send a message across. If that message gets across, that's when you have succeeded. If that message doesn't get across, you have failed. Yes, you have failed because you've wasted whatever duration of time that was.
Akintokunbo Adejumo is one of our elders here. Olusesan Ekisola, as I remember him in those days, a great presenter and DJ. That's the message he put up.
Sorry. Coming through, but I will call them back.
So he says, Olusesan Ekisola, as I remember him in those days, a great presenter and DJ. Is one of our community elders here.
Thank you very much, Tokubo. I appreciate you. Always.
Yes. Oh, he's always very supportive. Princess Clempat says, I'm deeply honored to meet you on this great platform, sir. She's one of my fans.
Mutually so from me too.
I think, okay, so that's, I think those are the messages we have. And finally, Sarah, let me thank you so much for your labor, for all the good work you put into our lives as well. I'm happy that I'm standing and I'm still very much in the industry. I've been making an effort to get this platform together for some years. You won't believe it. This is about my 7th attempt to make this happen. And I don't give up. I don't give up. So I'm really glad that this is happening. And that's why I thought, let me get the person who knew about my journey, about my beginning, as we say, in the industry. I'm glad to God Almighty that you are here, hale and hearty. And you're going to be 70, and I still can't believe it. I still keep asking myself, what did this happen to us? But it's a thing of joy, and I give glory to God.
All glory be to God. I thank you very much. And the spirit, that desire to achieve something, no matter what the obstacles are, I believe that's part of what we all took away from OGBC.
Absolutely, sir.
The using matchsticks to hold buttons so that tapes will continue to play. You know, because you cannot be standing there and sticking your thumb in the play button of the reel-to-read tape player. You find a way to use a stick to hold it down. Yeah, when you are recording or when you're playing back. Some of these things, we were learning some things in the process, and I thank God that some of it rubbed off on us, and that is what is accounting for the level, the measure of success we have been able to we have been able to achieve. So, and I want to congratulate you, and I want to commend you for not giving up. It's very easy to give up. The difficult part is seeing blood all over the floor, and you say, no, I have to keep going. And you keep going. And that's the only solution to it. There's no looking back. Once you start going, any attempt to look back is a distraction. What that means is, one, you're losing focus. But yeah, I must commend you, and I want to appreciate you for sticking with it and seeing it through. And all I can say is to pray for you that this becomes a big oak tree.
Amen.
In the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And please, I'm not that old.
Thank you, Ogami. We shall celebrate you more and more by the grace of God.
Amen.
So this is the community beat. I just want you to help me just launch the program officially, and then that's just, I don't know how you're going to say what you're going to say, but just officially help me to launch the program now.
To the glory of God and the benefit of humanity, I commend this program. And what's the name again?
The Community Beats.
Community Beats. I'm commending it into your hands, and I solicit your support to help grow it into the big tree it's supposed to be. It will be a platform for exchanging ideas, for bringing out things that most people have overlooked over the years, and things that can be of benefit to all of humanity and personally for individuals. And I want you to give every support to make Community Bits a huge success that it deserves to be. Congratulations, BC. I wish you every success as you proceed on this path.
Amen.
God bless you.
Amen. Thank you, Ogami. Thank you so very much. Thank you, sir. Well, says, Ogami, if you're not that old, then let's go and play football, sir.
Yeah, I can do Sakama and J now. Go and sit down, John.
Pastor Adewale Dosumu, I am coming to you very soon. We can catch up and pull you to this platform so we can talk about some things. Just to remind you, thank you so much. Let me acknowledge the people quickly so I can release it again. Thank you so much, everyone who joined this platform. I am sorry that we could not reach out to YouTube today and LinkedIn. I don't know for some reasons, but we'll be sharing the recorded version to those platforms. I want to say big thank you to Uncle Tokes for coming on board. I think it was the very first person I saw on the platform. Uncle Abdul Fatai Shelu Ade as well, all the way from Nigeria. Thank you so much. Uncle Tokes Adejumo, I'm also going to pull you very soon. You will run, but I will catch you up. I'll catch up with you. Olumoki Mikey is a musician from Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining the platform as well. Pastor Adewale Dosumu, a million thanks to you, my brother and colleague. Princess Clempart as well, and so many other people who are on the other platform. I'm sorry I cannot mention everybody's name one by one because of time, but I do appreciate you all. This is the community bits, the heartbeat of the community, and we will be bringing you different guests on this show, on this platform, every Monday by the grace of God. The time will change to around 8 p.m. because I realize 10 a.m. is not really convenient for most people. But of course, we love to promote community integration, and we love to showcase genuine businesses as well and community initiatives as well. So if you have something coming up, we can help you to promote it. Contact us and let's talk about how it will go. I'm going to release my Oga, our father, so that he can go now. Thank you so much for honoring my invitation, Ogami. I really, really appreciate you, sir.
Much appreciated. I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for having me. It's a special privilege, yes, which I have not taken lightly. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Bye-bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time, and we have done it, haven't we? And with your wonderful support, this has been possible. I'm so grateful that the internet also favored us. Um, in the next episode, by the grace of God, we'll try and resolve it so that people on LinkedIn will be able to get us, and people who are waiting eagerly on YouTube as well. I don't know what happened. Those platforms did not go through. But you're watching us live on Facebook and my profile and community based page. I want to say a big thank you to you. If you would like to feature on the program, contact me, Veronica at naturefaithfuls.com. This show is powered by Nature Faithfuls Limited, and they produce natural skincare products. Very soon on this show, you'll be able to win some gifts from Nature Faithful. So stay with me, hang around with me. Take care of yourself, whatever you decide to do for the rest of this is Dara.